16. 16, that's how many months I've been here in Cambodia during the COVID-19 pandemic. Like, looking back at it all, it's yeah, I went from a place of being very scared to being stuck here during this time to basically about to leave to head to the US. And I went from being very scared to now actually going to deeply miss this place. And yeah. So let me rewind a bit. A little over 16 months ago, I was living in Saigon in Vietnam, and I was teaching English. And I basically decided to come here for what was supposed to be a quick trip, a couple weeks, on the islands. And so while on the islands, a friend of mine in Vietnam said that they were going to probably close the border down between Vietnam and Cambodia. And without trying to risk it, I immediately took a ferry to go back to mainland, and that morning I could actually still book a bus back into Vietnam. But then by the time I came here to the capital, it was already too late. The border was already closed. And of course, at the time, I went through so much fear of being stuck in a country that its healthcare system isn't the greatest. And of course, basically fearing the worst, and that, that this pandemic would spread and hospitals would be overrun and people would be dying on the streets. And so, and during the time, I was actually here at Wonders Hostel, and there was so much fear. And I remember so many people trying desperately to get back to their home countries. No one really wanted to be stuck here. But with me, I basically came to terms with it. I accepted and almost kind of surrendered to the moment. And once I extended my visa for another month here and accepted that was going to be here, I actually went to another part of Cambodia called Kampot. And there I actually lived in a hut for about 5 months. During this time though, I actually started building an online business and ended up actually making more money doing that than I was when I was teaching English in Saigon. And through this is actually how I've been able to stay here for as long as I've been able to stay here and do so comfortably well. But at the beginning, it was, I was living in a hut. But then after my experience in Kampot, after 5 months, I decided to move to Siem Reap, where I was for the remaining of my time, so about another 9 months or so. And during this time period is when I really kind of fell in love with the country. The people are just amazing people, and I really began to really become in one with the community of the local Cambodians and the Khmer, and there's just something very deep and authentic here that I think as a backpacker we have a tendency to overlook. Cambodia kind of ends up becoming one of those countries that a lot of people maybe spend a weekend just to see the temples, maybe they go to the islands, and then that's basically it. But by doing so, we actually end up missing so much of what makes Cambodia a very special country. So during my time in Siem Reap, I really just started to enjoy myself, especially with my online business and everything else going on, and going to the temples every other day, seeing the sunrise at Angkor Wat on a regular basis with the temples being empty. It was truly very much a spiritual thing for me, and it was just an enlightening process overall. And so it was during this time that I really began to really appreciate everything that I had, everything that I took into account. And honestly, it's just one of those moments that really I kind of went deep with. And so what made me really appreciate this country so much, it wasn't necessarily the temples or the natural beauty that a lot of places hold, but it was the people. You know, the people are very genuine, they're authentic, even in the language, in the Khmer language. You know, Suste Bong, like it basically means hello brother or hello sister. And, you know, they have different words that they let people, strangers, use with each other that is very family oriented. A lot of the Khmer I talk about is food. Food is actually a very big part of the language. And so, you know, these are the things that I think are very real with a lot of these people. It's very deep with, and they're very rooted with the land that they live on. One of the other things that I've really grown to experience or learn to experience is just how people here are very genuine. You know, they really do want to help you. And, you know, when they ask you how you're doing, they're not saying it because they feel like they have to ask you. They're actually, you know, asking you how are you doing. And people here really deeply care. You know, if they can help you, they'll try to help you. And unfortunately, in my travels, I'm noticing fewer and fewer countries where the general population is genuinely like that. And so, and this is the main reason, the big reason why I'm really going to miss this place. And yeah. So this place, in a weird way, has absolutely changed me. You know, if it was 16 months ago and I could go back in time, I would have told myself to stay in Vietnam, right? Because obviously, pandemic, I trust the healthcare system in Vietnam more than I trusted in Cambodia. And that part is probably still true, it's still accurate. But as far as my experience here, you know, now I would probably go back in time and tell myself, no, stay. You know, me being here was definitely meant to be, and it is becoming a huge part of my growth of traveling, even though I was kind of in one area for a very long period of time. And for that, I will genuinely appreciate my time here. And so, with that all being said, for those of you watching, if you are curious about ever coming to Cambodia, definitely do it. It's an amazing country, a lot of really good people, and I really want to miss this place. So, anyways, this is me saying Lehigh.